Kia ora, good evening. Brisbane is slowly grinding to a halt as it prepares for the worst floods in its history, with the Brisbane River to reach its peak tomorrow morning our time. Much of the emergency focus has moved today from the devastated cities of Toowoomba and Ipswich to the state capital. Evacuations continue, the search for the missing goes on, but the worst may be yet to come. This is the very latest we know. The death toll is confirmed at 12, but is sure to rise. 67 people are still missing. The Bremer River in Ipswich has peaked in the past few hours. The Brisbane River is due to peak at 7 tomorrow morning, New Zealand time. 2,100 streets are expected to be flooded, 19,000 houses may be underwater, and more than 3,000 businesses could be hit. So Queensland's largest city, Brisbane, is now just hours away from the biggest flood in its history, a flood which is already causing disruption to the city, which is built along the Brisbane River.
The skies may be blue in Brisbane today, but that is little comfort for a city that knows the worst is still ahead.
If you start to see water in your yard, get out, take your family and get to safety.
The river is due to peak at 5.5 metres tomorrow morning, but it's already broken its banks at a number of points throughout the city. Large boats and pontoons have broken free from moorings and are now floating down the river. Those living in low-lying areas were today scrambling to save what they could.
We just kind of swum to the house and put everything that we couldn't carry up in the attic.
It's going to be a long night for everyone, I think, tonight.
The water is predicted to reach the same level of the devastating 1974 floods, but Queensland is a markedly different place now.
We have significantly higher populations, we have a more dense construction, we have people living in high-rise units where in 1974 nothing existed.
Reports of looting in the nearby city of Ipswich have disgusted officials.
We do not need any incident that is taking police and emergency services personnel away from the frontline duties of rescuing people in this very, very drastic situation.
With so many still missing, more helicopters, Air Force, Hercules and Defence Force personnel are heading to Queensland to help the search and recovery efforts. Those operations have now begun in the Lockyer Valley, but the receding floodwaters are likely to reveal some very grim scenes.
We do expect that our emergency search and rescue teams today may face a very difficult and emotional task as they search for and possibly find bodies in some of those isolated areas.
As clean-up begins in some areas, the Prime Minister is promising support for the hard months ahead.
We will be continuing to support the people of Queensland with emergency payments and, of course, at the appropriate time when floodwaters enable people to go back to their homes, with grants to assist with recovery and rebuilding. While the promises are to rebuild regional Queensland as soon as possible, with much of the state still underwater, the true scale could still be days away. Todd Simmons, Sky News.
Now for the latest, we're going live to Brisbane and Sky News reporter Kieran Gilbert. And Kieran, how is Brisbane preparing for tomorrow's flood peak?
Well, Eric, unfortunately we're seeing already thousands of homes being inundated in the low-lying areas of Brisbane. Homes a kilometre, 2 kilometres inland are being inundated by this ever-rising river, the Brisbane River. So essentially while they're preparing, they're also dealing with what is this excuse me, Eric, this crisis which has hit Brisbane over the last few days. It's a beautiful summer day here in Brisbane. The sun is out, but the rainfall over the last couple of days has done the damage already. And as I say, while they're dealing with the looming peak in the early hours of tomorrow morning, there are thousands of homes and tens of thousands of residents who are already dealing with the reality of this.
Kieran Gilbert there. Well, Prime Minister John Key will talk to Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard tonight about what help New Zealand can offer. John Key says it's likely that Defence, Police and the Fire Service will send staff over.
We've also asked the Fire Service to look at making a contribution, and the National Commander signed up to potentially 60 personnel going to Australia. They will include the urban search and rescue teams that were dispatched to Canterbury for the earthquake. and they have quite a number of specialist skills that they can provide.
Police are widening the search for a